I wanted to be able to have a conversation about the food culture of Canada, but I don't feel like you can do that without going a little bit back and talking about the Americas more generally, especially in terms of the characters of enslavement and how that affected the way that we eat and grow food even. So yes, I'll come back to Canada, but I think the big picture needs to be spoken about first. Okay, so before we can get too deep into the conversation, I think I wanted to be able to discuss some of the limitations that I'm having. I think as with any type of research, you got to kind of get there first. So the first and biggest thing is getting firsthand accounts. Finding who these people are, getting to know credible information is very, very, very difficult, especially as you go further and further back into enslavement. There aren't first accounts. You don't have personal diaries. You don't have ownership. You don't have, just typical ways that we're able to track bodies these days. Not only were they not as sophisticated before, but the Black body was not seen as a person. So it was just property. So the most information you get is typically taxation papers, wills or estates where the bodies are being transferred from one family to another. So you can see where people are, pretty much docking them like luggage. So finding people is difficult. Dates are very difficult. Even their ages are difficult to find because they weren't being registered as typical births. So what I've noticed is a lot of the time it's a guessing game. Not only are their deaths a bit of a guess, but their births. So typically it's almost like a deduction backwards. You'll find a person present on paperwork and you'll know that, people weren't recorded until they're about 16 years of age. So you kind of do the math backwards and hope that you're kind of guessing in and around the right time. So that was the big limitation. It's just finding information in general. So everything's very circa, kind of, maybe deduced, which is unfortunate and painstaking, but I think is important to note because this is a part of the erasure of the Black community in so many spheres of our cultures. Is that it's gone. It's non-existent. It's not there. So I do want you to bear with me in terms of if there's holes in understanding. I want you to also understand that this conversation is not exhaustive. In no way am I able to get all of the history and all of the nuances and every single bit of information in these short little clips. These are really just intended to be informative, fun, short, to the point. In no way am I trying to get it all done here. It's just not in 3 minutes. And so why I think this is really important to get done, because the conversations that we have are so insular. They're in our own communities or our own social circles. I think that with social media and the internet in general, we're able to get these conversations out to a bigger audience. And that would be great to open up the conversation, should I say. In no way do I think that I know it all. I would love to have conversations there's so many academic scholars, there are so many food historians, cultural historians that have so much information about this, and I'm trying to digest it as quickly as possible. Another limitation I have is the accuracy of information. A really good example of that is, obviously I was trying to look for, these nice pictures and like media to include with these videos so we could have, these visual personifications of these people that we're talking about. And I was quickly hit with the realization of two things. One, not that they don't exist, it doesn't really exist. And I'm going to say this because one of the first characters that I was going to be covering is James Hemings. And I was looking for a photo of him to, pop up and look nice. And I found one, did it, great. Moved on to Chef Hercules, which is the next chef that I wanted to discuss. And, Google, put it in, image. It's the same picture. It's the same picture as James Hemings. So I realized really quickly that there was this photo was being used interchangeably for these two different people. And then obviously I dug a little deeper because I wanted to know, even if it wasn't one or the other, which one was it at least? And then upon further research, realizing that this very, very popular photo that a lot of people have used, even on publications, for the Black enslaved chef, was in fact not a a chef, not a chef. It wasn't James Hemmings. It wasn't Chef Hercules. It wasn't even a chef. So we've gone X amount of years using this portrait of, his shoulders were back, his chest was up, he was wearing a bright white, chef's jacket and a hat, and it looked happy. And I think that's what we want to see and we want to believe. And even though we know differently because of the time they were slaves, like, I don't know how much happiness was happening. That's not to say everything was maybe all miserable. I'm sure, you find happy moments the way a prisoner in prison can find happy moments with their friends. But I don't know that they're happy or in a happy place. So that being said, I think wanting to find this positive imagery of a slave was hopeful on my end, but naive in the same bit. So that was another limitation I'm realizing, is that my expectations were limiting what I was able to find and what I was able to discover. But I was happy, or at least soothed to know that I wasn't the only one that was looking for this positive imagery, and I wasn't to fault myself for trying to find something that might not exist. I think we would like to believe that these people had happy moments, and we just want to see them, but they're just not really easily accessible so far into what I've been able to find. So that was something that was eye-opening to me in terms of my expectations of what I was going to find. So I'm limited in terms of what I can find. I'm limited in terms of the quality of I can find it. I'm limited in the terms of I can't get it all, and I might not get it all right. And I'm okay with that, because this is a learning process. And I'm hoping that through this getting out there, that people are able to talk back and help me inform, not only myself, but the community around me. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy it. Subscribe to get notifications when there's new videos available.